Oh no. Okay, having some technical issues with YouTube. Okay. So yeah, welcome everybody, and thank you all for being here. We're very happy to have, this is our second in a series of talks on harmony. And for this talk, we really wanted to get into what we do when difficult things happen, things that can really shake or undermine our sense of community or belonging. Some examples were injustice or being falsely accused, but I think we all, if we've had any experience of a Dharma center or community, I think everyone has their examples. So we asked Venerable Robina and we said, look, we're okay with when the chocolate runs out. We can handle that. That help us with the really difficult things. And she very kindly agreed. So we are absolutely delighted to have her here to help us. And I hope there will also be time for questions. So with that, I pass over to Venerable Tender, if you would like to say something.
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Special question about Robina. Thank you for being with us, and the translators. Thank you for your kindness to translate. Yeah. So, and of course, the organizers, especially the Dakinis, who make all this technical stuff possible. Yes. So I think you, Venerable Robina, you don't need a really introduction. I think many people know a lot of your former activities in this life, and I think almost many of us have met you. So yeah, so I don't want to do a general introduction. I just want to. I do it mostly personal, but for me is many times when I go to teach introductory talks to centers. Sometimes I just get a few days before I get a mood of anxiety and I can't. This comes all in my mind. And then the first thing I do is listen to a talk online of Venerable Robina, because as soon as within 1 minute, if I feel the energy, I feel the wisdom of our gurus in her words. So, and I really feel, there's a connection between her teachers and what Robina says. And somehow the energy and the words, and it seems so logic. And then many times my anxiety, all these moods go, and I feel again energy to go forward in a positive way, knowing what to say and so on. So anyway, this I want to share. So a little bit of personal introduction of anyway. So go ahead, Venerable Robina.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Well, I think when these things happen, when we get criticized and things go wrong, I think that's the best lesson for us. It's the biggest learning. I mean, we know all this from the teachings, don't we? I mean, we know all of Lama Zopa Rinpoche's teachings. We know all about transforming problems. We know all about Lojong. We know, I mean, we can quote them all. And when it happens, it's always very difficult, isn't it? So, but I think, so, okay, if we have, as we know, if we're looking at if we have a problem, which is called suffering, the Fourth Noble Truth, it seems to be the first thing we have to do is know the cause of it in order to get the solution. If you can't identify the cause, how can you find the solution? So we want to be really kind of clear about it, and using Dharma methods, this is what our gurus would tell us, then it's clear that we have to observe the problem. So if I get criticized, for example, what is the problem? My problem is, the criticism is the catalyst for the triggers my intense attachment to be seen and heard. I mean, I think we really look at it. If we really look at this, these so-called 8 worldly dharmas. I know when I first heard that phrase, I didn't know what they was talking about, but really it's just this more primordial level of attachment, isn't it? And if Lord Buddha's telling us in the Four Noble Truths, attachment is the main problem, but here it's not to sex and drugs and rock and roll. It's to being seen and approved of and heard and liked, basically. I mean, attachment to approval is a fancy word of simply saying we need to be liked, we crave to be liked, and it's not just some kind of accident. We in the West we call it normal, but I think it's the deepest attachment we've got. I mean, I love that saying. They say, the yogis up in the mountains who've given up everything are still thinking about what the people down in the village are thinking about them. So my feeling is that's our deepest attachment, and that's the source of our greatest pain in life. I mean, I think it has to be this. When we're rejected by people, you know, even the slightest rejection. I mean, even when you're on the road and a car toots his horn at you, we feel upset and offended, you know. So all it does is really point. And my feeling is we can use all kinds of methods. We can talk to our friends, we can cry, we can have someone support us, which we need to do, but we've got to understand we've got to do the analysis, because if we can't find according to Lord Buddha, if we can't actually identify the problem correctly, we can't find the cause. And if we can't identify the cause correctly, we can never, ever, ever find the solution. We'll just lead ourselves up garden paths, you know. So, I mean, I can speak from experience on this one, because I don't know, some of you might know, I mean, gossip goes around, but like, how long? 14 years ago, maybe 18, 19, 20, 15 years ago, when I was running the prison project, I was accused by one of the staff of abuse. And it happened to turn into this big investigation for 2 years by the FPMT Board of Directors investigation. I had to lose my job. I had to leave the country. There was danger, Lama Zopa said. And it went on for about 2 years. And I have to say, I think it was the most painful experience of my life, because I was accused of abuse. So there had to be this serious investigation. Everybody was asked, all the centers knew about it. And I mean, it's kind of heavy, you know? So, and of course, I think when we get criticism, also when we get blame, it's always exaggerated. So that's very important. But I knew it was a very, very painful time. And I think the key one that I had to try to practice, and this is the one for me about harmony, is that I had to learn, I had to accept it, and defend myself if I needed to, but I had to keep my mouth shut. So I think this is the one that I think is the greatest cause of so much pain and suffering. On top of being accused, you then get political and take sides and all that kind of thing. And that's the worst nightmare. I mean, I'll never forget back in the 80s when Manjushri Institute thing happened, which is related to Shugden, you know. At that time, Lama Zopa, when all the painful schism was happening, some of you might know about it, Geshe Khalsa Gyatso basically, and he's one of my teachers, I'm not criticizing, I've taken initiations from him, but there's this terrible kind of like a war zone. It was so painful. And I remember eventually, at the same time as Lama Yeshe passed away and Lama wasn't there, Rinpoche went on his usual visit to Manjushri Institute this particular year, but he couldn't stay there, as his attendant said, because it was against the guru. So he left in the middle of the night. It was so sad. And I remember he told us at that time that schism was the result of breaking our third root tantric vow, obviously in past lives, which, as he translates it, Lama Zopa, speaking the faults of our Vajra brothers and sisters. So this for me is the worst one we can possibly do. So of course, when we're being accused of something, and I know in my experience it was very painful, this big investigation, but I really, from that experience 20 years before, 30 years before, I really learned something so strongly from that. We absolutely have to keep the mouth shut, you know. The worst thing in centers, and when you're being accused, you set up politics, you have people to defend you, then it just becomes like a nightmare, and it's the worst thing possible. So the hardest part, when you're being accused, and then you can't defend yourself, you don't want to speak anything, it's extra hard. But I mean, we are Buddhist people. We have the best gurus on the planet. We have the most amazing centers, incredible education. We know all about Lojong. We study it so intensively in our Lama Tsongkhapa tradition. And if we can't even begin to practice it, I mean, if we can't even begin to apply it, but that's the trouble. It's so difficult because we forget these things so easily. We create schisms. We criticize our Vajras and sisters behind backs. We then get resentful. Then we believe our own deluded story. I mean, it's like a nightmare, you know. So I think for me, I can speak from experience, and I know this is the most powerful practice we have to learn to do. And we all know that's when the real tests come of our Dharma, you know. We can sit there being very nice and liking each other, but if we can't practice Dharma in the bad times, then it really is the proof that it shows how difficult it is. And I also know at the same time, back then in the 80s, FPMT, we had a terrible reputation because, you know, Lama Yeshe was considered a very low Lama. He wasn't respected among Tibetans. And right at this time, Manjushri was the one who was seen as the poor ones. FPMT was seen as the bad ones. And there was this terrible pain. And at the same time, also Lama Yeshe eventually passed away at that time. Some of you will remember. But Lama took this completely. He was seen as really bad. He was criticized all over the world. The Manjushri Institute people did this 100-page report, criticizing Lama, criticizing Rinpoche, criticizing Lama's students, exposing kind of what they said were crime, sent it all over the world. Lama just completely ate it up, you know. He was the most incredible example. It was like nothing for him, you know. Some people were around at that time. Siliana was around at that time. So these are the times when it's serious examples. But the point is, don't wait till the serious thing happens. Wait start practicing when the smallest thing happens. Get used to this. But it's so hard. We know this, you know. I mean, as Lama Zopa says, everything we experience is our own karmic appearance. We love to speak this. Some of us have to teach. We love to teach it. But the second it happens, we know how hard it is. But this is the practice. This is, if we're not, you know, if we're not practicing Lojong, I don't think we're even practicing Dharma. Just to be a nice person and watch our breath and keep our vows even could be quite difficult, could be quite easy. But to actually begin to practice is when it's difficult. That's when the real practice starts. So how can I ever say anything else but this? How could I use any? I mean, yes, we can talk to our friends, and yes, we can cry, and yes, we need to do that. Have good friends. I mean, at that time when it happened to me, I had one good friend, one friend that I did speak to, cried, got angry, got upset to support me, you know, but to other people, I refused to say one word. I knew all the people I knew who were supporting me. I demanded they say not one bad word behind backs, because that's what schisms come from, you know. Because we all want to have people taking our side. And you see it in all the centers, the terrible breakups between people. People have been friends for years because we talk behind backs and we become political. This is the one, if we could keep our mouths shut, have one person to talk to, yes, cry, but one person to talk to, but whom you can really trust, then there won't be division. There won't, and you will be able to get through it, you know, because it all passes. It all passes, you know. That's for me, wow. I'm happy you asked me to talk on this topic. For me, it's a deadly serious one, you know, and every center you go to, it's like this. It's heartbreaking because we become so weak as soon as people don't like us, as soon as we get criticized. And of course, it's natural. Of course, it's natural. We don't like everybody. We're ordinary human beings, and we might be nuns, but we're all pathetic and want to be loved. We might irritate, that nun might irritate us, that girl might irritate us. It's how we are, you know. But if we don't keep our mouths shut, and if we don't try to apply the proper analysis that our gurus give us, then what are we talking about being nuns? What are we talking about being Dharma practitioners, you know? I mean, that's when the real test comes. That's my feeling. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's unbelievably difficult. And we can easily defend our position, you know. We've got to be so rigorous in our logic, so clear. But the one of having problems, fine. Find one person if you want to talk to, cry, get upset. But don't talk behind backs. Don't make it worse by going behind backs. This is the worst. And that's the thing that blew my mind when Lama Zopa said that back then. This is the result, that terrible schism, you know, between this huge, amazing center. It was the most amazing center, 80 people studying, 2 geshis teaching every day, morning, every evening. It was incredible center, incredible Sangha. We had 40 Sangha there. It was an amazing time. And this terrible, terrible schism, like a war zone, happened. And Rinpoche said, this is the result of breaking your 3rd root tantric vow, past lives, of course, speaking the faults of your Vajra brothers and sisters. That's the poison that goes on top. Yes, we're going to have problems. Yes, we're going to get criticized. Yes, it's painful. So have one person to talk to, definitely, but a person you've got to trust. You've got to trust that person not to be political, you know, because we're human beings. We can't just sit there on our cushions. We're not the greatest yogis. We need someone to support us. But even when we're talking about it to our friend, we've got to try and see it beyond just the not fair. How dare, it's not fair they say this to me. We have to have the Dharma analysis. We have to have the Dharma analysis. We have to have the Dharma analysis. And the analysis of why we get so hurt when people criticize, the delusion is called attachment to being liked. Attachment to reputation, attachment to praise. They're the attachments, not to sex, not to drugs, not to rock and roll, not to comfort, but attachment to being liked. That's what attachment to reputation means. We crave to be liked. We crave to be liked. This is our deepest pain, and it's the suffering. This is the deepest suffering on the planet. So if we can't identify that and work on that, then what does Dharma mean, you know? That's what I want to say. You can ask me some questions and discuss if you like, please. I mean, I'm being sort of brutal in a sense, but we have to be, you know, to be clear and logical about it. So please ask me some questions. Let's have a discussion, okay? That was just 15 minutes. I'm sorry. Now let's have a discussion.
It's okay. It was kind of
I'd
a
love to
whirlwind.
have a discussion.
So yes, that was fantastic. Thank you, Venerable. So any questions?
And I mean, I'm being brutal, so don't be afraid to say I'm speaking bullshit and how about this and how about that. I'm happy to have a discussion. I just had to start with that. That's all I can say. Because that's my own experience, seeing Lama Yeshe, and then my own experience and seeing it in different centers, seeing it in other places, you know. people who come to me with this, with these problems, and I see it in other traditions. It's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere, you know. So are there any questions, any discussions? Please, 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 dear people.
And just a comment, if somebody wants to make a question and they're listening to the interpretation, you can put it in the chat and I'll translate it and share with Venerable Robina for the non-English speakers.
Start the ball rolling. Start the ball rolling with any comments at all, anything you'd like. Let's just have a conversation.
Well, yeah, let me start.
Go on, please.
Yeah, so yeah, you say it so right, it's so correct, and it's so true, it's so true, and it's so deeply ingrained. And then yeah, on top of that, we have sometimes if we manage to practice Lojong 2 or 3 times in a day for a few seconds, then pride comes up, like wow. But yeah, it's so deep ingrained in our habits and in our way of thinking, and to be liked, and to that this motivation is still there, this worldly motivation, which is not Dharma at all. So I can only say, wow, you put it so correctly, and there's so much to practice if I would really reflect on it.
It's so true. And I think it is really, don't you think so, Venerable Tenda? It really is the deepest attachment. I mean, it's the
yes,
deepest pain of so much in the daily world. You can see it in people's lives. That's the deepest attachment of all. I think it's the closest one to ego grasping, that attachment. It seems so primordial, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's like, it's huge practice. And that doesn't mean we can't talk about it, does it? It doesn't mean we can't have friends and discuss it. But somehow we've got to identify the problem accurately, you know?
Yeah.
Because what else is the cause of suffering why do we suffer so badly when we get criticized? It has to be only that reason. There's no other reason, is there? Especially whether it's right or wrong criticism, you know, even more painful when it's wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I guarantee every single one of us has had this experience. I guarantee everyone, it's human nature that we're going to get not liked by everybody. We're going to get criticized by each other. This is just natural, you know?
Yes, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and it touches our deepest fear to be alone on this planet. So yeah, but it all comes all from the ego and your own karma and your own how you function.
One is the karma, one is the karma. We have to then that analysis as well, isn't it? You know, one is the karma of having done that kind of action in the past. Yeah. And especially if we're wrongly accused, when we can see that even though we did nothing wrong now and we're wrongly accused. I mean, okay, I'm not saying back in my experience, I didn't do the things I was accused of, but I certainly was rough, you know. I am rough. I'm rough in my speech, and I can be a very rough boss. So I had to take some responsibility, not be some kind of innocent victim, because criticism often is always exaggerated. So I know when, especially when we're accused of doing something we didn't do, that's when it's so painful, you know. That's when it's so painful.
Plus, sometimes the right motivation. Sometimes you strive for justice. Yeah, and sometimes you.
What do you mean? What are you saying? I don't understand. Say it again. What are you saying, Venerable Tenda?
Yeah.
Go on.
Sometimes you strive for justice, and then you get criticized because people interpret it completely wrong. So then sometimes it's very difficult for your mind to focus on. Shall I continue in my striving for justice, or
what do you mean by striving? Can you give the example of that? I don't understand your point. Striving for justice. What do you say? You're going to point.
Okay. So yeah. For example, there was one guy in our community, but he was temporarily there. He was very homophobic and very accusing, went with talks to the village and so forth, you know. So yeah, so I made a complaint about him, but then I got all kind of wrong interpretations, like I was the.
Can you just explain? This is a good example. Can you please explain to me? You made a complaint to whom about this guy? To Nalanda, you mean?
Yeah, because I was at that time not director. I was at that time not director anymore, so I stopped to be director. So then I went to the director and I said, you have to do something. So. And then not really things.
Sorry, say it again. Just a minute. So what was the guy doing that was wrong?
He talked about Nalanda in a very negative way in the village.
To the villagers, you mean?
Yeah, but also to all students.
Oh, okay.
He came
okay, I get it.
Yes.
Okay, so what happened then?
He
So
said this
you
is
thought it
such
was a
a
valid.
homophobic place, and this is such a place full
I
of
get it. I see.
pedophiles and full of okay.
I see.
So,
So what
and,
happened when you told the corrector? So you got criticized instead of being supported. Is that what you're saying?
yes, exactly. Yes, they think because you're angry at him because
Oh, I see. Okay.
you stand up for the LGBT community.
I see.
And
Okay.
and you are angry about against him.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Only that.
So how did you handle it? How did you handle it?
Oh, I found very difficult because because it's close ones, like people who are from your community,
Exactly.
sometimes
That's
living for you for 20 years,
Yeah,
who
that's right.
take information complete wrong, and like
Yes.
you have a marriage and your wife believes that you have gone
That's right.
with someone else,
So
but
did you
you've never
did you
done it.
manage to practice? So
And-
venerable tender, did you manage it? Did you manage it?
I don't think I was so successful. I was more defeat, and sometimes on my cushion, yeah, then I'm very peaceful and can see it.
But did you talk badly behind the back?
Sorry?
Did you talk badly behind the back?
I'm not so sure, but I looked for support, yes. Even to
understand.
you, I think, at that time, but
Yeah, I think I remember you.
yeah.
So no, it's tough, isn't it? It's really tough. Even if you're being right, it's so difficult.
Yes.
So I mean, that's interesting. So what about other people have something? I bet all we've got examples of it. But anybody want to say something? Have some discussion, people. No. Because there's nobody got something to say. Nobody got arguments, discussions. We all agree, and we're finished. If we're all agreeing, we're over. Then we can close up. I mean, it's like, yeah. So were you able? So then, okay, seeing as you're the one who said something, venerable tender, were you able to locate? Someone said, okay, good. So leave it. So venerable Palmo, say something. Good. Talk to me.
We were just talking about fear and this grasping to being liked. Fear, yes. Venerable Tender mentioned it, and this attachment to being liked is
that's right.
And is addressing it's a kind of defense against our fear. And
how would you analyze fear, venerable Palmo? How would you describe fear? Talk about it. What do you mean by that?
A fear of not being accepted, a fear of not being allowed to exist, basically. And this is a fear
that's
that
another way of saying attachment to being liked. That's the attachment, isn't it? That's the name of the attachment, which is the attachment to reputation, which is being attached to being liked. It's all based in fear. I agree with you, but that's the name of the attachment, isn't it? We have this huge hunger to be liked and approved of, don't we? And it's because we are all fragile, we are all needy. So that is really exactly what. Exactly. So then go on. It's good to hear what you're saying. What did you say then? Then go on.
So what the Dharma does basically is to help us to address our fears. And for this we need a community to help us to do this. And if our community is all the members of our communities are struggling with this fear, there should be some way to address this within the communities, so that people feel safe in the community in order to build up the refuge in themselves. And this is extremely
difficult. How would that look? I like what you're saying. How would that look? How would you make that happen as a community? How would you make that happen as a community? How would you address it as in a community? That's a really good point, I'm talking more, I do it more from the personal point of view. That's how I've been describing it. So tell me how you'd work with that as a community. It's a good point.
Well, I don't think we do, but I think we should. And how
would we do that? That's my point.
Well, I have some ideas, but that may not be I'd
like to hear. I really like to hear.
Contribution. So my my wish, my need would be to have time to look into the needs that we have, each personally and as a community, and the openness to
And
accept.
How would you make good? Go on. So speaking these great things,
I'm sorry, the connection is not so good. I can't hear you, Verbal.
How would you apply that? No, I know it's not a good connection. I know. How would you apply that? How would you apply that? It's the application of it that's difficult. So what would be your advice? How would you apply it? Did you hear me or not?
Yes, I heard you, and I'm thinking, and you're so fast that I cannot keep up with you. So
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm a bit slow. I'm sorry.
I understand. No, go on, please. I want to hear. It's really important.
Yeah. So what my wish would be in our community, at least, is to take the time and the openness for the community members to discuss these fears with an open mind and with respect for each other's fears and ideas.
Okay.
And well, this is
so that
my personal
that would mean
thing.
Calling a group. That would mean meeting together and just talking about it. Is that what you mean? You'd call meetings and we'd all have an opportunity to speak. Is that what you're saying? And you'd want each person to reaffirm each other. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think I would ask each person to reaffirm each other, but to respect the fact that we all have fears and that it is okay that we have these fears and that we need to address them and that we can support each other in addressing them.
Would you address them? Yes. It's concrete about it. Give one example of how it could play out that could be very helpful. What's she saying?
I'm sorry, I haven't heard what you said, Venerable.
Okay, I'll have to see if I can get better internet. Just a moment.
I
Just a
think
minute. I'm
she
trying to
said
get better
good-
internet.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute. I've got to try and get better internet. Mark, this is not good internet here. Where can I get it better? The Zoom meeting isn't going. They can't hear me well. Where can I get better internet, please?
We heard that quite well.
No, I'm coming. I'm getting close to the modem. Thank you very much. Now I'm here. Can you hear me better? Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Very good. So God, give me a concrete. Palmo, everything you're saying is really nice, but it's very theoretical. Give me a very concrete application of how this would look in a community. Spell it out.
At some point, I would address in a meeting the fact that a reaction of somebody by something I said hurt me. And that the person...
I see. That's what you're talking about.
That's
so
just,
we're living together.
That's just an example I give. And that the people...
Okay, good. I hear you. So let's... Yeah, go on. Go on.
And that the people in the community would say, I hear you.
Okay, so we're living together. So you're Dodgy Palmer, right?
Yes.
So if I'm there living in the community, and let's say I'm mean to you, let's say I criticize you or something. So what you would like to do once I've criticized you, what would you do of all the nuns, and then what would you say?
But Robina, I think you'll have to repeat that.
Why? Can't you hear me?
Yeah, it sounded
No?
like you. Yeah, it just sounded like speaking underwater. Just for
So
that.
I'm right next to. I'm right next to. So listen, Palmo, this is really helpful, but I think so let's be concrete about it. Let's say I'm in Dodgy Palmo and I criticize you. So what you're suggesting is we should call a meeting of all the nuns, and then what? So you're not suggesting that. I think it's important you say these words. I like what you're saying. How would it play out? Because this happens all the time. We all criticize each other. So how would you like to fix it in the community? What would you do about that if I criticized you? what would you do? How would you try to fix it? What's the
This is
solution you're
also kind of
describing?
theoretical, but if we were
Of course it
together,
is, but it's a very real one, Palmo.
It's
This
very
happens
real.
everywhere all the time.
Yeah,
It's very
so
helpful. But what would we
suppose
do
we
about it?
were, suppose we were doing the dishes together.
Yeah, right,
You're
exactly.
criticizing me,
That's right, exactly. So what would you
and
do
you would
then?
do it in a way that, I mean, was not only criticizing me,
Yep.
would hurt me.
That's exactly right. Yes, I accept
I
that.
would like to be able to
Yeah.
tell you, thank you for your criticism, but the
Uh-huh.
way that you tell to me that I'm doing something wrong hurts me.
Uh-huh.
And
Good. And so,
you
so
would
you mean
say,
you don't mean, I thought you said you could deal with it in the community. You mean deal with it with the person?
right, it depends. If this happens within, when the community is together,
Yeah.
then I would like it to be possible that this was brought forward in the community that is all present.
So but when would, so one opportunity would be you speak to me right then and you ask me basically to apologize, and I would happily apologize. That would be, from my side, talking to you about my practice, I would immediately apologize for having harmed you. No doubt about that. I must do that. Yes.
I wouldn't ask you to apologize. I would just
but I
ask
would.
you
I
to
would
accept.
I would definitely apologize to you if I hurt you.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. That would be my practice. Definitely apologize to you immediately and to ask you to forgive me. I must do that. That's, I would suggest, absolutely, I would do that. Yes.
Not accepting the apology. Yeah.
What does she say? What does the nun say?
Well, I'm not sure that at that time she's expecting the apology. She wants to be heard and understood that actually she's been hurt.
Yes.
So
because apology is easy. Apology, you realize that you hurt one. Yes, you apologize.
Yes.
Okay, but you don't really accept that the one was hurt by what you said, because you said it in a light way or whatever, and you didn't realize that I was hurting. So you don't really realize that the hurt is there.
Well, so you mean, so then what she'd like me to do would be to recognize that I did hurt her.
Yes.
She'd like to recognize that I did hurt her, and then what would you like me to do if I did recognize I did hurt her? What would be the best thing?
That I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, this is just making it clear. I mean, because
I know that. But this is why we have to spell it out, because we can have all these theories, but it's really good to spell it out. So if I criticize you and I hurt you, and I have done that to many people in the past, and you have the courage to say something to me, I think that's fantastic. And then if I'm trying to practice, I would accept that, and I would absolutely apologize. I would never argue. I would never point out your mistake, and I must apologize. So my feeling is, if someone apologized to me, if I felt hurt by them, that would be very healing. So would be healing for you, Palmo, or you'd like more than that?
No. And from your words, I understand that you would, if I tell you that I'm hurt, and you would see it.
Yes.
You would see the hurt, and you would maybe feel sorry, and then you give your apology. But what what Chicky meant to say is that in this world we easily say so sorry without actually having seen the person, just to.
I understand. So what would make you feel confident that I heard you? What you have to feel confident that I heard you, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. And that's, would you say that? The other nun, I don't know your name, darling. What's the other nun?
Tricky.
So what would you need? What would make you feel that someone heard you? That's the point, because you're feeling not heard. So what would you want from me to make you feel that I really did hear you? What would make you trust that?
If it was my case that I was hurt, that's what you're saying. Well, I will accept the apology, but I will recognize that my reaction was based on something which is very personal, and nothing perhaps to do with the way the person spoke. So
what do you mean by very personal, Turkey? What do you mean by that?
Because I am reacting based on my own karma and issues, right?
Yes.
So this is my own thing. My reaction belongs to me, nothing to do with the other person. So I don't want to reject to push on the person what actually I misinterpreted. You know what I mean?
So,
I mean,
yes, I do.
I don't want to mix up the feelings of each other, and we build up on power. Oh yes, I hurt. Oh, I was hurt, and things like that. This is a play, which we should go beyond that. I mean, the person hurt. Okay, I recognize she's hurt. This is my work to you know, not to do it again or to restrain myself. But my reaction.
Let's say you hurt me. And what would you suggest to me would be my practice if you hurt me? What's my practice if you hurt me? What would you suggest I should do how would you suggest to me if I felt hurt by Palmo, let's say? What would you suggest to me is my practice in order to heal my feeling hurt?
Well, a little bit of understanding on both sides, which means that the person who hurt you might have done it without mindfulness, of course. So that's a problem to work on that. But for my side, for your side, to be a little bit lighter, a bit lighter on problems.
No, I'm saying if I get criticized.
Yes, to be a bit.
If I get criticized by somebody and you hurt me, what's my practice? What's my Palmo wanted me to hear her if she felt hurt. I'm asking you, if I'm the person feeling hurt, what is your recommendation to me for me to practice getting beyond
to apply the Dharma, basically, to apply the Dharma and check your own motivation.
Job is also, so my job is to apologize to Palmo and listen to her, and Palmo's job is also to practice Dharma. Would you agree with that?
Yes, exactly.
Good, we're all on the same track.
That's exactly what I mean. And that's a main aspect. That's not the person who criticized. The main thing is to work on oneself.
So we both have to practice. We have to apologize and be humble. And then the one who's being criticized has to learn to work with it and practice, which is what I was saying before. So yes, sounds perfect. So I think these concrete examples are so good, Palmo. What do you think, Palmo? Is that a good? Tell us what you think.
Actually, I don't think you need to be humble.
Which person shouldn't be humble, the hurter or the hurt?
The person apologizing doesn't necessarily need to be humble. Just
don't be ridiculous. Of course, they have to be humble. Come on, that's outrageous.
There's no need to be humble.
Otherwise, that's just arrogant. If that's the case, that's just playing games. Now, that would be shocking to say that, Palmer. How can you expect? Of course, humility is part of it. If I'm apologizing, it's got to come from humility and a sincere wish to a sincere apology for hurting somebody. If that's not coming from humility, that's a horrible thought. I can't even imagine that. What do you mean not humble? How can you say that?
Well, maybe my definition of humble is not yours.
Humble means not arrogant, honey child. Humility is the opposite to arrogance. Come on.
Okay. In that case,
so you're suggesting we need to have more in the community so that we can listen to each other. But are you agreeing with my initial analysis that if you get hurt by somebody, that your practice is also to practice Lojong? Do you accept that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Good. Then this is really great. I love the conversation.
Not only Lojong. What else?
Yeah. And do you agree about not talking behind backs?
Yes, that would be nice. I don't expect that people will do that.
But I think it's important to have at least one person. Maybe we don't get the whole community, Palmo. I don't know if that's necessary. My feeling is if we're all trying to practice, then to have one person we can really trust to not be political, that for me is very powerful. You know, that's very powerful, I think, to have one person we can really trust. Do you accept that, Palmo?
Well, Chucky thinks that you are very, very, I don't know how to say, you have a lot of faith in people.
Well, I have to have faith in people.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure I agree about putting your problems to one person you really trust, because you are adding, of course, you really trust, you need help. But I think one should take time to reflect on ourselves, apply the Dharma, and be in a quiet and detached way before someone. Otherwise, you will increase the problem and on the other. And there is
So
no
what I
use,
meant,
there's no use for
so
that.
what I meant, Turkey, what I meant before was an alternative to bringing it to the community, which is what Palmo suggested. I suggest it's a better solution to have one person whom you can trust, whom you can discuss and work your problems through if you need that. I don't usually do that. I do it on myself.
Yeah,
I do it on
don't
my
believe it's possible. Yeah.
Go on, Palmo. Yes, Palmo.
I don't think I made myself clear. I didn't mean bring it to the community, but I would like a community to develop in the way that each member feels safe to bring something that is very important to them, to each and every person in that community, to express themselves if needed. And that
But how can we say, what, see, that to me is a great theory, but I can't imagine how that plays out, which is why I asked you before, how would that play out? You want a community to do this and that. A community is made up of a bunch of deluded individuals. So would you make it mandated? Would you make it a rule? Would the director announce it? What would you be asking everyone to do? You're asking everyone to do what? To say, feel safe. It's an enormous statement, Palmo.
Yes. So what
you want the community to make you feel safe? What do you mean by that?
The situation that we were just describing, that you criticize me, I talk to you.
Yeah.
That it would be possible. I mean, this is an ideal situation, but that you can do this to every member in the community, and not have the community as such.
Who would do what to everybody in the community? Sorry, who would do what?
If Chucky, if I heard Chucky. That Chucky tells me, oh, what you said, yeah, it may be true, but the way you said it hurt me, and that I can accept that, and we both work. I mean,
I see.
I think this is the way.
For me, I never, ever, when I ran the prison project, like 15 years, I had about 9 staff, and I had some pretty crazy people working with me. When they would come to me and complain about the other one, you know, and because I was the director, and I'd listen. And then I never, ever, 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 ever recommended they talk to each other. I told them I recommended they work on their own mind. They would tell me what the other person did, and I would say, thank you for telling me what Mary did. Now, Joe, what's your problem? So my recommendation was never to communicate, to go to the other person. I would always tell them to work on their own mind. That for me is the most direct, most outrageous, most direct, most perfect method. Very brave. It takes courage, because once we start, I mean, it's my opinion, Cherky, Palmo, once we start going to each other and saying, you hurt me, it's a never-ending bottomless pit. It's a never-ending bottomless pit. I mean, for me to apologize, wonderful. But for me to have to go to you to tell you I didn't like the way you talked to me, I don't know about that. I find that kind of never-ending. I'm not sure, Palmo.
Actually, this is not the way I'm not expressing myself clearly again, I think. I'm not saying I didn't like the way you talked to me. I said I was hurt when I heard you.
I know, but why do you want? Okay, let's now. I'm going to be controversial. Why do you want me to know that I was hurt, that you were hurt by me? Why would you want me to know that? I'm just asking. I'm just debating with you.
Yeah.
Because I'm happy to apologize if I did, but why would you want me to know that you were hurt by me? Why would you want me to know that?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly, darling. That's the point. This is the real question. So if you want confidence in a community, Turkey, then my feeling is the way I would think of it is my job to show that to other people, my job to lead the way. So if you want that in your community, you need to show that to others. You need to show it yourself. You need to lead the way in that, Palmo. You need to have the confidence and the courage to show that and to guide other people in that approach, rather than wanting other people to do it for you.
I didn't say that.
You have to make other people safe. No, I'm just talking, darling. You need to want to make other people feel safe. That's a very special thing to do. Make people feel safe in the community. That's wonderful. You said you wanted the community you wanted to feel safe in the community. Didn't you say that? You used those words several times.
Yes, because I think safety is the basic thing in a community in order to be able to function at all.
Okay, good. So then
let me ask you, work on yourself.
What would you want other people to do to make you feel safe? What kind of environment would it look like for you to feel safe?
I think that if I express myself for some reason, I was standing there nude because there was something going on inside me very deeply, very profound, that people would just hear me, just respect that it was there and that I had a need to express it.
That's different. That's you have a need to say something. That's wonderful. To want to have it speak to somebody, that's wonderful. That sounds great to me. But you have to, but surely you have to choose who you're going to talk to. If you want to express something very deep inside you, that's very personal. You'd want to really, so that's back to my point before. You've got to really know who that person is that you want to express your deeper heart to. You need to trust that person, don't you? You can't trust everybody. That's naive to trust everybody to hold your heart. My goodness. You need to know who you're going to speak to, isn't it? And if that's what you mean by feel safe,
yes,
that's a big ask. That's a big demand of ordinary human beings, that they make you feel safe. Wow, that's fascinating.
But as a matter of fact, I may be completely naive, but I think this is what the Buddha meant for his monastic communities.
I know, but so instead, let me put the question to you. What do you think you need to do to make other people feel safe? Because we've got to say, it's my job, I will make it happen. So what do you think you should do to make other people feel safe, Palmo?
Well, exactly what I said. Listen
Which is
to them.
No, speak it out. Speak it out.
To listen to the person with as open a heart as I can. And to respect them as they are.
That sounds perfect. That
and not talk about them behind their backs.
There you go, perfect. I would write that down as a rule at Dorji Palmo, that if I live there, that I would make sure I don't talk about other people behind their backs, and I would make them feel safe by listening to their words and being kind to them. So don't put it on other people doing it for you, Palmo. You have to decide that you will do it for other people. That's what my main point to you. What do you think, darling? Palmo, what do you think of that, Palmo?
Robina.
Yes, Jackie.
If you accept to listen to someone complains about, about someone else or the community or whatever, do you accept that? My problem is that, do you accept them to speak badly or to give the criticism about someone else or the community? Because this for me is very difficult to hear.
I didn't hear what you said.
That means that the person hasn't worked. Sorry?
Would you say that again, Turkey? I didn't understand the point, darling. Would you say it again for me? I didn't understand.
I was thinking that if someone comes to you and opens her heart and criticize or say anything that is wrong for her within the community and makes a few complaints, where is the limit? And you don't accept the criticism. Do you express that you should not criticize me in the back or whatever, or not? Because
I understand. So I'm a bit confused. So if I come to Palmo, make me the person who's doing the thing, and I come to you and I talk to Palmo about what would I be saying to her? Something wrong in the community. Let's say, would I be criticizing you? Would I criticize the community, or am I criticizing Palmo? I didn't understand the point.
If someone is coming, you were talking about someone. Yeah, you need to trust someone to whom you can open your heart, right? But that person, if that person, does she accept everything you say without any, hold it?
I'm a bit confused, Chuck. I want to understand you. So just keep a simple example. Let's say you come to me. So give me the example. I am the person you come
because
to.
I wouldn't do that. But if someone I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even, I wouldn't do that. So if someone comes to me and say, oh, this, look at her, she's doing that and that, maybe we should do something.
You mean criticizing another person to you?
Yes, and open your heart and saying, I'm not safe because this person is acting this way and this way and this way, or not reacting to me.
Oh, okay, so wait a minute, stop. Now I get your point. So what you're saying is, now I understand. So let's say I'm feeling threatened by Palmo. Is that what you're suggesting? And I'm nervous about Palmo and I don't feel safe because Palmo, I feel she's wrong. So I come to you and tell you that. So what's your next point? What's the question?
Exactly. So my question is that, do you let her go
You let me, I'm the
ahead.
person complaining. I'm
Yes,
the person complaining.
do I
I'm the
let
person
you?
feeling unsafe with Palmo. So I come
Yes.
to you and tell you how I think Palmo is doing this and Palmo is doing that. And I feel unsafe. So what's your next point to me, Turkey? What
Do
would
I
you
let
do?
you?
You
Do I
advise
let
me.
you? Do I
You would
let
advise me. You'd be my Dharma sister and give me advice and help me and listen to me and help me understand. That's your job, surely. That's exactly what you would do. You'd be kind to me and listen to me and help me. And if I just want to criticize, then you might have to be firm with me. If I'm really feeling pained and I'm criticizing Palmo, you have to have enough sympathy with me to help me solve the problem. If I really want to do so, many people criticize, we don't want to solve the problem. We just want a bad mouth. But if I want to solve the problem, well, of course you would help me. How marvelous of you. How kind of you. But I'm just wanting to criticize behind backs, then you have to be also very wise with me and suggest that I stop doing that. You have to have enough wisdom to know how to help me. This is surely all we can do with each other, is grow the wisdom to know how to help each other.
That's right.
Is this
Yeah.
what community does?
Yes, yes, very good.
Right. So that means you have to have courage, Shirky, because if I'm a loud, bossy girl and I like to criticize people and you are not, you have to have the courage to either know I've got a real problem and you try to advise me, or to help me be firm and please don't accept my criticism and suggest I stop criticizing. You have to see the difference in me if I'm being harmful or trying to solve a problem. And that's not that easy sometimes to have that.
Yeah. That's helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And actually, if somebody is criticizing, there is a need. There's a reason for them to criticize.
No, they're criticizing because they got delusions and they're neurotic and need to be loved. Come on.
Yeah.
We're all join the human race, Turkey. We've all got these problems. This is our suffering. This is why we suffer so badly. Isn't it? We've got delusions and needs. We're emotionally unstable. We need to be loved. We get upset. We get depressed. We get angry. I mean, Lord Buddha's told us all about it. Isn't it? So it's not easy. Anyway, I'm very happy you nuns are all living together. I'm living on my own, selfishly, in New York City.
Well, you're very welcome to come and stay with us, Venerable.
I will come anytime, I promise you. So what else, you nuns? This is a really good discussion. What else? Come on, you people. We've still got 10 minutes, I think, or 15 minutes or something. Any other points? It was a very good, helpful discussion. It made it more concrete. You made it more concrete. It was good. Come on then, people. Talk to me, nuns. Lob Sung Young Chen, talk to us. You got something to say? She hasn't. Lucilla, who's Lucilla? Elisabetta, Tenzin Palmo, Simona, Jangsem, somebody. Teresa Vega.
If the ladies don't take their space, I will take the space. So 10 seconds, ladies.
That's it. Nobody else. Anijampa Sangmo, Tupten Chuying, Tenzin Paldon, Lozang Yume, Joya Rossi. Nobody else. Come on, what else? Nothing.
Hi, Robina. This
Yes.
is Anijampa Sangmo.
Hello, talk.
Hello.
Hello.
So I had such a problem at the beginning with a nun,
but
my reaction was to keep silent mostly, although I had to speak with senior nuns sometime, but I didn't used to complain to her anything. And at last she understood by herself because she practiced the Lojong, probably.
Yes.
And the situation was solved.
So I didn't quite get the main point there, Anijampa. Someone was criticizing you or hurting you? What were you saying?
Yes. Things like this. But I kept silent. I didn't choose to answer back,
Okay. And were you managing to work with your own mind and not and deal with the problem and try to solve it in yourself, or you?
Yes. I did manage to do so because she helped me to understand that something went wrong by karma. It was my karma to receive that complaint.
I see. Okay.
And that was my way to deal with it silently.
I understand. I understand. And I hear it. So that's very brave of you.
Mm.
But you didn't just suppress it. You were dealing with your mind, were you?
Yes, I was dealing with my mind, and to deal with my mind, I asked also some time help to the senior nuns about the situation.
And that helped as well?
Yes, that helped as well, to let go.
I understand. Well, I think I want to, that's very interesting. Thank you for that. So we've all got different ways, haven't we, you know? Yeah, I remember, I'll have to tell you one story though. This is years ago in Sydney. A group of Buddhists were all meeting, and the guy who owned the house, he was telling everybody how his brand new BMW had got scratched all along the side door. So he got a new door, and the next time he saw it, it got scratched again. And he discovered it was the crazy old guy next door. Obviously, this old guy thought that John, this fellow, must have done something wrong. So John said to all his friends it was a dinner party, "What should I do?" Well, one guy said, "Oh, well, scratch his car." And then another friend there, George, said, "I tell you what Lama Zopa Rinpoche would do. He would discover what this guy liked and then buy him a very beautiful gift and apologize." So John thought that was a great idea. So he discovered this old guy liked golf. So he bought him a very expensive, beautiful gift, beautifully wrapped, and went to his front door and knocked on the door, and the guy answered, and he offered this gift to this guy, and he said, "I'm sorry for anything I've done." He apologized. He's done nothing, right? So John felt good about this. He solved this problem. So he's back in the kitchen having a cup of tea, and this old guy comes in with the gift unwrapped, beaming from ear to ear, and he said, "This is the kindest thing anyone has done for me." He said, "Thank you so much, and everything is forgiven." Well, there's another solution, Palmo. Take the blame. That's what it says in the 8 verses, isn't it? So I think this is the thing. It's easy to say these things, but that guy has to be very special, you know? And that's where, again, I mean, talking about taking the blame, I mean, some of our friends in prison, the most outrageous examples of the most appalling suffering when there's nothing you can do about it, you know, and yet they learn to become these strong, amazing human beings. So, I mean, it's incredible. So I think, you know, on the one hand, this is always the point about our communities, and Palmo's point is so perfect, to make an ideal community where people are compassionate and kind and listen to each other and feel that they can hear each other and we can feel heard. That's absolutely perfect to demand that, to want that, you know. But like I said, I think to Palmo, I think if you want that from others, we have to also know that I have to also want to give it to others. And that's, for me, is a very powerful way sometimes for it to happen to ourselves. If we do it, then we will get it from others. You get that point, Palmo? Do you feel that sense of responsibility, Palmo, in Georgie Palmo? That's fantastic. Because it's got to be both ways, isn't it? I really agree with that. Yeah. What else, you people? You nuns? Anything else? Simona, something? Elisabetta? Children Chewing, you got something to say? Children Chewing? Have you got something to say?
I'm just listening. I'm just listening very carefully. I really finding it very helpful. Good,
that's good. You're living in Italy, aren't you?
Yes, Venerable.
In a big community. So you keep your mouth shut and try to be nice to people?
I do my best.
Oh, okay. I know. I mean, it's so difficult living in communities. I've had it. I mean, it's difficult, you know, it's just difficult. I find it so difficult. So it's very brave, everybody who's doing it. It's amazing. So I don't know. I have nothing else to say.
Well, Robina, do you think we can do everything with Dharma, or do we need these techniques from
the world? No, I know it's a good point. No, I think it's a good point. There are some brilliant techniques in the West. I hear people with such good ideas, but I just don't know any of them. I just try to quote the Dharma and be done with it, you know. I don't know what to say. I know there are lots of good methods. The West is so creative in these methods, you know. But I put it this way: if those methods aren't rooted in the understanding on Buddha's understanding of the mind, then I don't think they're going to work. Because I think Buddha's understanding of the mind is just totally incredible, totally ingenious, totally unbelievable. You know, Buddha's understanding of attachment is unbelievable, and that does not happen in the West. So I don't know. I think use techniques and things, but you know, I mean, I don't want to sound extreme, but it's true. If we really, it's all theory. Again, it's theory, Palmo. If every one of us really did try to practice Dharma, There'd never be a need to talk to each other. There'd never be a need to to come to each other and talk things through, you know. There wouldn't be. But of course, that's great theory. But we can always aim for it. I don't know. That's always what I tried to do with the prison project with all the staff. I always recommended, you know, I mean, that's what I'm telling you, Palmer, how I tried to deal, you know. I was the boss, so I had to run this staff, you know, and I was in charge, paying salaries and everything. But I always tried to get them to see what their problem was. You know, they'd come in, you know, one girl, she's now dead, Alison, would come in criticizing Sue-Ann, criticizing somebody else. I'd listen to what she said. She was feeling unbelievably hurt because she was a very sensitive girl. And then I'd always just talk to her, tell me now what's your problem. And I would try to get her to tell me which delusion she was suffering. Was it anger? Was it attachment? Was it jealousy? Was it arrogance? So to help the person see their mind. That was my relationship with her. So she enabled me to do it. So if she could see her mind, what her delusions were, why she felt hurt because of attachment, then she could work on that. And then if she had to, sure, talk to the other person. But we've got to see what it is in our own mind that's the problem. Like you just said, Palmer, fear. Fear is attachment. Fear is attachment to be liked, attachment to be seen, attachment to get what we want. It's not criticizing us. It's the source of our pain, you know. And if we don't really recognize that, I don't care how much community, I don't care how much talking, it'll never happen, you know. So that's just my own experience, Palmer. All I can tell you is that, darling. Especially from the time when I was really very badly criticized and accused of this abuse for 2 years. It went on, this huge investigation. And I knew I had to keep my mouth shut. I absolutely could not afford to be political. It was quite heavy, you know. Anyway, that was my own experience, Palmer. It was quite a big experience for me. Do you understand, Palmer? I'm just telling you my own experience, you know. And I had to learn from it. And no, I had to learn to keep my mouth shut. I've got a big mouth, you know. I cause problems. You seem more gentle, Palmer. I'm a bit of a rough girl, you know. Anyway, I don't know. It was an interesting conversation. I thought that was a very helpful conversation, Palmer Cherky. Thank you so much. Well, I'll come again and see you soon. I promise. And I'll try and be nice, not use rough words. All right, everybody. Can we just sing Jang Trub Sem Trog Rinpoche? Jang Trub Sem Trog Rinpoche Ma Ke Panam Ke Gu Chig Ke Panyam Pa Me Pa Yang Gong Ne Gondu Helba Shog. And may we never develop, even for a moment, wrong views towards the deeds of our most precious gurus, with faith and respect gained from seeing their goodness. May their full inspiration flow into our hearts. And all these seeds we planted, listening and thinking and analyzing this last hour, may we continue to develop our own amazing potential so we can be of benefit to others. That's all. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, people. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Robina. Please keep your mouth open sometimes directly. Because it can be experienced as wrath,
okay,
but it's not necessarily wrath, of course. It's But thank you so much for being with us and sharing your experience and wisdom.
Everybody.
Be so open-hearted. It really gives us more courage ourselves as well. Like, yeah, I also would like to. I would like also to thank the translators. It's very nice to see Teresa. I see her very sometimes only, but sometimes it's many years ago. It's so nice to see you. Thank you so much. Also, Venerable Ciliana and Venerable Gelson. Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Thank you. And the organizers, of course, Venerable Dacian. Thank you so much for putting effort into this. Without her, it would also not happen.
Wonderful. Well done. Okay. Good night, everybody. Good night from Melbourne.
Good night to you there. Bye. And good day, everyone else. Ciao, ciao.